Sometimes you open a door, and everything changes.
Now, if you're playing the movie on a telephone or on your computer, you will never in a trillion years experience the film. An extreme putrefaction of a potential experience. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
This is David Lynch, one of the best American filmmakers to ever do it. His art resonates with me immensely, and for a long time this quote did as well. It made sense to me. If a film is created with the expectation of being seen on a massive screen, enormous speakers, and in a theater with an audience, then of course you would have difficulty replicating that on a 6.5-inch screen. But over the years I've had this nagging feeling, a chipping away of this puritanical cinema take, and I think this year the dam officially broke. The first cracks emerged when I saw the film Tangerine. Well before he was winning Palme d'Ors and Best Picture awards for Anora, Sean Baker was making a masterpiece on a micro-budget by shooting Tangerine on 3 iPhone 5Ss with experimental lenses. This film was shot on an iPhone, why wouldn't the viewer be expected to view it on one as well? For what it's worth, around the same time I was having these doubts, David Lynch seemed to be changing his mind a bit as well. In a 2017 interview with the legendary French cinema magazine Cahiers du Cinéma, sorry if I butchered that pronunciation, he seems to relent a bit to the idea of someone watching Twin Peaks on a cell phone. If you watch Twin Peaks on your phone or tablet, above all you have to put on headphones so as not to hear other exterior sounds and be truly immersed in what you are watching. But looking at a tablet or computer from the right distance, close enough, the screen is almost the same size proportionally as if you're sitting in the back of a movie theater. So if you're in a quiet, dark room, it can be a good experience. Unfortunately, if you give people an inch, they'll take a mile. Despite Steven Soderbergh carrying the torch of mobile cinema with the film's unsane and high-flying bird, we also begin to see the baffling rise and fall of the ill-fated vertical streaming service Quibi.
Oh no, it's quicksand. How long do I have?
About a Quibi.
A what?
And the baffling rise and, well, rise of Duanju, episodic virtual video content on apps like Real Short and MyDrama. Quibi, despite being brutally mocked in the aftermath of its shuttering,
a Quibi then is about 5 to 10 minutes, which is perfect because I'm about to go take a Quibi now.
At least seemed like a good faith attempt at providing a cutting-edge streaming solution for a rapidly changing media landscape.
You know, we would say to you that what we're setting out to do falls somewhere between improbable and impossible. That just happens to be our home address. As
such, I'm less interested in beating that dead horse and instead would like to focus on the wild rabbit hole of Duanju. Duanju is a Chinese term for short-form video content delivered primarily in vertical 60 to 90-second episodes accessible either in a pay-per-episode or subscription model of monetization. This is not a new phenomenon, it's been around since at least 2013 in China, but it seems to have exploded in popularity since then, and now similar content is being produced on a massive scale in France, Ukraine, and the United States, and almost assuredly on a smaller scale by media companies all around the world. Fox, Disney, and the French Ministry of Culture are all interested in getting in on this growing market. So what's the deal? Is this content the future of cinema? Well, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, this shit sucks. From the cheap amateur-looking productions to the monetization structure requiring constant microtransactions or ad viewing, to the often cringeworthy subject matter.
Wait, let me get this right. A delivery girl and a hobo getting married.
I just can't see the appeal here as it currently stands. If anyone watching knows some secret kino hidden in the world of Duanju, please sound off in the comments, cause as of right now, I'm standing with this guy. Gaëtan Breuil, president of the French National Film Board, says, quote, "Microdrama is the perfect counterexample of what France believes in and what we are fighting for." In all fairness though, judging a medium by its earliest examples isn't always fair. Early short documentaries by the Lumiere brothers don't exactly paint a full picture of modern cinema, for example. If you looked at a film of a train pulling into a station from 1896 and ended your wonder and creativity of where cinema could go, where would we be now? No, what we need is the Citizen Kane of Dwanju. I haven't found exactly that, but I have found a piece of short-form filmmaking that brings me an unfettered joy, gives me faith in the future of the medium, and, in my mind, acts as proof of concept for vertical cinema. The piece of media that fully changed my mind, that cemented cinema as something that could not only be reasonably displayed on a cell phone, but something that could be well and truly designed for it first and foremost, is Titanium Daydream. Titanium Daydream feels less like a pleasant daydream and more like a fever dream from the deepest recesses of the year 2000. It is a saga in many parts, delivered in roughly 60-second doses through the vehicle of YouTube Shorts. It has a retro video game aesthetic, not only in the low-poly 3D modeling that would fit right in on the Sega Dreamcast, but in the stilted but surprisingly poignant dialogue that evokes the less than stellar localization of the time, to put it nicely.
This town hasn't been the same. Neighbors can't see eye to eye. Paranoid rascals radiate scorn in our once cheerful stores and parks.
Titanium Daydream follows the story of Benjamin Jacobs, presumably named after the series creators Ben Krause and Jacob Sluka, an all-American golden retriever of a man who returns to his hometown of Sleeper's Edge, Iowa after a series of disturbing psychic visions seem to pull him back there. Words alone cannot do Titanium Daydream justice. I'm gonna play the intro to the series so that we can be on the same page about the vibe of it.
The road is like a vein, pumping me back to the heart. I can't escape it. The shards of a shattered screen fall back together. I've dined in cities around the globe. I've even had sex a couple of times. But before I was a worldwide man, I was an American boy. A nationhood I wish I could erase. I keep seeing phantoms of the past. Tangible illusions like a titanium daydream call me back to my hometown in Iowa. Trapped by fate, a haunted carnival mirror sinking in a bog. Good thing I've got my father's gun.
And what a vibe it is. There's an earnestness to Titanium Daydream that you don't typically see in something with this level of an absurdist bend to it. I had the pleasure of speaking with Ben and Jacob for an interview leading up to this video, and this is what they had to say about where that tone came from and how they landed on Titanium Daydream as the project it is today. There's like this earnestness to Titanium Daydream that like I feel is so Midwestern at its core, that like really resonates with me.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone make that comparison, but I think that's completely true. That it is a Midwestern sensibility to.
I mean, we are both from Iowa in real life, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, there's so much, and I think it's kind of died down a bit, but I feel like, especially like in the 2010s, there was such like an inundation of irony in everything, and I didn't even associate it regionally, but I thought of it more, and this is maybe unfair to Gen X, but I thought of it as like a Gen X thing.
I was going to bring up Gen X, but I was like, I don't want to throw Gen X under the bus.
But yeah. We're trying to bring, I like this, a millennial Midwest earnestness to this work.
And I would say too, like our philosophy has always been, I think in all the work we've ever made, like this idea of like, I don't think me or Ben sees any distinction between liking something ironically or liking something sincerely. Like that feels like almost like a meaningless distinction to make. It's like you like it or you don't.
Yeah.
It's like, I would love to like just kind of retire the term guilty pleasure, because I think like if you liked it, who cares like whether society deems it as like corny or whatever, like you have to look past those things and just like it, was successful to you,
Titanium Daydream was born, at least in some part, out of the remains of a more traditional studio animation pilot that the two had created. When that fell through, they went back to the drawing board and, despite some hesitation, settled on the short-form style that makes the show what it is today. I think what really elevates Titanium Daydream is that it doesn't bend itself into the restrictions of the vertical aspect ratio in the short-form storytelling, but rather it uses those medium-specific challenges to fuel its creativity. You mentioned that there was some some reticence about releasing it in like the short form vertical video. I want to talk about that because that's ultimately like what this video is going to be about.
But I think also we're like, if we're going to do it, I haven't seen anyone really try to really lean into the vertical aspect ratio and make it that format naturally. Because you see a lot of clips from shows on like TikTok and stuff where they crop it to fit into that frame. But we were like, hey, if you just like planned it that way from the beginning, it might look pretty nice actually. Yeah, so especially if you're going to talk about like vertical aspect ratio, for example, I think the limitations are pretty obvious to anyone who looks at it. You know, it's narrow, it's hard to cram a bunch of stuff in there. It's wildly different than movies. I always say to people who ask about this that, you know, I kind of had to like sit down and learn a new film language. You know, I went to film school and, you know, you spend a lot of time learning composition and blocking and staging and camera moves and stuff. And a lot of that had to be kind of relearned or like discovered in a way because a lot of those rules just don't apply to vertical. And since we've been making Titanium, certainly I feel like I've written down a bunch of like good rules of thumb that I follow now, but had to discover all that because, you know, there's not a textbook that you can go buy that says, here's how to make a vertical film. But, you know, benefit of it is, I would say just the immediacy of it is very like tantalizing to us as creators. You can make something and put it online for free and everyone can see it. Doing work for the big studios, a lot of the times, a lot of the work that you make just doesn't get seen. So
either doesn't get seen or it takes years to come out. And by that time, the video might, you know, make it hard to watch. Maybe it's on at a weird hour of the day. Maybe it's on a streamer that not a lot of people have, you know, so it's really, the immediacy is great.
Like Jacob says, they wanted to make something excellent for social media, not make something excellent and find a way to post it there. Titanium Daydream would be my movie of the year in almost any year. It's ambitious, unique, hilarious, but captivating, and I truly love it. So do all the folks I've recommended it to. But right now, at this particular point in time, it is not only excellent, but it is necessary. No shade against the bride they feared, the queen they crowned, but this style of extremely high concept, melodramatic, ultra formulaic romances and power fantasies really doesn't land for me. Still, I'd take A World in Her Pocket, Hearts in Her Hands over the other main stock of short form video content running rampant nowadays. AI slop videos. With the rise of entirely generative AI channels that flood the algorithm with heartwarming, dog saves baby type videos, I think something like Titanium Daydream holds even more importance. Titanium Daydream is everything I wish Duanju was, and everything that AI is not and can never be. It's earnest, unique, sometimes raw and imperfect, but also clearly produced by people with years of experience, passion, and craft. Titanium Daydream is a passion project made by people who love and enjoy what they do, and that makes it the ultimate threat to AI slop. I'll let the section of our interview where we discuss AI and the future of vertical cinema close us out. Do you have any thoughts on this trend and what it means for the future of the media landscape and like how cinema is going to continue to exist and evolve in the next, 10 years, we'll say?
I mean, I just think like it's inevitable, right? Like if everyone's spending their time on their phone, then that's where you have to go. Like as an artist, like no matter what time period you live in, you make art for, whatever platform makes the most sense. Like, Renaissance painters painted big religious paintings because rich people paid them to do that.
Yeah.
So you just gotta follow whatever the predominant media is at the time. I think there's more than enough room for both, and I think like all the big corporations that are trying to make both happen are going to continue spending money on both as long as they are making money on both. And I think movies had a lot of good hits this year. You know, a lot of people went to the theaters and kind of proved that people want to go to the theater, but that doesn't mean that like they're mutually exclusive. Like, I mean, I'll go to the theater and see a movie and then come home and watch stuff on my phone in the same day. So there's plenty of time in the day to do both. Why not?
China also broke the top grossing animated film record this year with
It's like $2 billion.
That is true.
Incredible.
So my opinion is I love all sizes of screens. We love the big, the medium.
Be careful what you say, because there's gonna be like some kind of like new trend where people start making stuff for like Apple watches or something, and then we're gonna have to like try and format titanium into like a tiny little square.
We'll see. That could be very innovative. I have some ideas already. It's just Benjamin's face, and he gives you like life advice.
I would pay for that service. To be honest with you.
That idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. Like that was not my tone with asking the question. Because I see like Titanium Daydream as like kind of I'm working on the script, and what I say is we need the Citizen Kane of the Dwanju. And I'm not saying Titanium Daydream is that. I love it, but I don't know if it's that.
I wouldn't say that. Benjamin Jacobs does have a Citizen Kane poster in his room.
He does. I didn't even think about that. That's so true.
There's like, this sounds really dour that there's just like, I was gonna say there's just no guarantees with anything. Like with life or creative projects or whatever like avenue you're going down creatively or in your career, so many like conditions change rapidly, and that's especially true in the animation industry. And I think all you can really do is just keep making things, and it always really comes down to that. And it sounds really saccharine, and it doesn't sound like great advice because that sounds really dumb and simple, but that's really what it comes down to, is like just keep making things that you're inspired by and have that level of authenticity to them, because they're what you want to make. And I think good things will follow from that, and that's all that I've really learned over 10
I'll
years.
piggyback off of that and say I think like it's super important to like just make the thing that you want to make, because I feel like when I was like a younger artist, I was always waiting for like permission or money to like do the thing I wanted to make. I was like, well, I can't do it until someone pays me to do it, or I have some reason to do it. And then now it's like, no one told us like we can make Titanium Daydream, we just did it, and that's been the most fulfilling art we've probably ever made. And then I think I would also say don't worry about like if your stuff is going to come off as like weird or corny and no one's going to like it, because that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I think both of your answers kind of in a way circle around the elephant in the room of like 2026 media landscape, which is all this AI slop. And I think that potential, like maybe that's like why something like Titanium Daydream is so important right now, and like why any kind of art that somebody makes that like is genuine, even if it's like quote unquote bad, is like that's a rebellion. That is like, it is by definition mean, and like that's the type of stuff I think people are going to just be seeking out more and more of, regardless of where it's coming from and what it is. So.
And I would say, like, if you're an artist and you don't like AI, like, I mean, we don't like AI art, obviously. That's why we work so hard on our show.
Yeah.
If you don't like the AI art and you're an artist, I think the best thing you can do is just go make great art.
Yeah.
Like, you're joining the battle. You want to prove that you're better than the machine. Just go make something that's better than the machine.
Huge thanks to Ben and Jacob for helping out with this video. The full interview will be going live in about a week if you want to hear more from these two amazing artists and people. Make sure to subscribe to Titanium Daydream on YouTube, TikTok, and wherever else you'd like to view their content. This series has been so important to me for the last few months, and I think if you let it, it'll be that for you too. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more media analysis, video essays, and gaming content as well. Thanks for watching, peace, love, and good games, y'all.